Today I'm chatting with Albert Yeap. He is an AI expert from Auckland University of Technology, AUT.
AI is about creating intelligent machines that can perform wonderful tasks.
Yes.
And many people are fascinated with these machines, and they love it, and they also fear it.
Yes.
But my interest in AI is not about creating these machines. My interest in AI is creating machines that can help us to understand how the mind works. Well, the mind is a fascinating object, and it has been studied for a long time, for many years, by psychologists and philosophers before the AI researchers. And these psychologists have discovered many interesting aspects about the mind. But the most fascinating aspect is that they all end up with some very perplexing questions about how the mind processes work. For example, you take language. And to understand how infants learn language, they assume that the infants will be able to listen to the words that come in. And once the infants at a stage of able to speak the language, it's assumed that they have computed or understood the grammar of the language. Well, that looks very easy if that's all it is. But amazingly, in nature, the children appears to have knowledge of grammar far greater, or greater at least, than the knowledge of the grammar afforded by the input. So how can that be the case? So psychologists have been debating and arguing about how grammar is acquired, and they couldn't really agree to the answer to that question. So my AI is to try to create models that will be able to help us unravel the mystery of these mind processes. And there are many others. It's not just language. However, in order to use AI to unravel the mystery of these processes, I invented a different approach. It's not possible to take the input, and here's the process, take the input and compute what we need, which is in this case the grammar. Because no matter how you compute the grammar, or how you show how the grammar can be computed, it does not solve the problem, because the infants suddenly have more knowledge than what is available. So what my approach is, I take the input and ask the simple question of, if the cognitive process receives this input, what can we compute first? And why? Computing something from it, and we must ask why for their survival. It's not simply just computing it for computation's sake. So if we understand that process, simple process, which is not straight away grammar, is something else. And then what I do is that I empower this process into a robot, which acts as my very primitive species, albeit an artificial one. Now I conduct experiments with Albots, and I call this robot Albot. And now I conduct experiments with this Albot and show how progressively the behavior of Albot matches the behavior of natural species. If it can, then the process the Albot is running could be a plausible explanation of the process that the species have. And hence, we solve the mystery. This is because we do not know what to compute at all initially. The process is so mysterious. We can't compute that information directly, but we know the behavior of the species when they do such a computation. So if we replicate the behavior, then we might have some feelings of how the process might work.